If you're in some other part of the world, good evening. If you're in some other part of the world, I hope you all had a great day. Somebody I already saw saying that we were a couple hours late. Yes, we were a couple hours late today because, Leslie had the day off and we went and did some fun things together. And so no regrets over here. We just pushed it off a couple. I did also see somebody saying that I missed the scoop and somebody else already talked about this topic that we're going to talk about. Yeah, whatever. You must be one of those people that only watches one news channel. Welcome to I'm Just Gonna Say It podcast. That is what we do here on Tuesday. Holy crap. Hang on. I forgot to put Do Not Disturb on before I started the podcast. All right, there we go. Welcome, everybody. For those of you that are new to this here podcast, this is the podcast that we do together, just hanging out on Tuesdays. Just kind of, this is a place where I get to just say whatever I want to say. And talking about music stuff, talking about guitar stuff. If you have questions about guitar stuff, please put it in the chat right over here and we will try to get to it. If you want to get bumped to the top of the pile, I'll drop what I'm doing if you use a super chat and I will answer that question immediately. Please do me a favor if you would check out our Patreon, patreon.com/DylanTalksTone. I'm working on some special stuff for over there that's not going to be seen on the regular channel. I'm just going to mention that. And then if you would also support the channel, because the Patreon thing really helps us out with reviews and stuff, since we try to make reviews for you, not for guitar companies. And so that means that we don't get a lot of free stuff around here. So the Patreon stuff helps with that, as well as you can directly support Dylan Talks Tone by checking out our pickups at dylantalkstone.com. And you can also check out the links in the description below to many of the things that we talk about in our videos. And that helps out the channel as well. Okay, all of the businesses out of the way. Let's get right into the topic of conversation for the day. So, as you may or may not be aware, I'm sure you are if you are a guitar player and have not been living under a rock for about the last 5 years. J.C. Curley was the CEO of Gibson. And as of today, I believe, he is out as CEO. And Cesar Goikin, the guy that you see on Instagram all the time, showing off cool stuff and kind of, he always wears a cool hat. Really seems to be a super cool dude. He is in as interim CEO. Now, we'll get into some particulars about Gibson here. It's an interesting situation, and I want to kind of get into why I think this is happening. And I have no inside information. A lot of people might see this as a bad thing. I don't. I see it as a good thing, so we're going to get into that. But basically, this is Gibson's press release. It says, Chairman of the Board of Directors, we are transitioning to new leadership at a time of strength to ensure the company continues its momentum and is very well positioned to execute on its next phase of growth. Cesar has played a huge role in the company's recent success, including securing critical artist partnerships and overseeing the evolution of many of our most iconic product lines, and the board has full confidence in his leadership. He says, on behalf of the board, I want to thank JC for helping return Gibson to its status as an iconic brand over the last 5 years. We are grateful for his leadership and contributions to our partners, customers, and the music industry, and we wish him the best in his next chapter. Now, JC Curley also spoke in a press release and said, it has been a privilege to lead Gibson, and I am tremendously proud of what we have accomplished as a team. I'm ready for my next challenge and want to thank the board and the Gibson team for the opportunity to guide this company. I look forward to seeing all they will accomplish in the future. So, what does this mean? What does this mean for Gibson? Does this mean that everything sucks? Does this mean that there are problems? Does this mean, I don't think any of that. Gibson's on fire right now. I know that there's going to be a bunch of you in the comments that don't agree, and I don't care. You're wrong. They are on fire. whether you saw a post in a Facebook group about a guitar that wasn't up to your quality, whether the products are too expensive and you don't want to spend the money on them or can't spend the money on them, whatever reason you don't like Gibson for, whether you think they sue people because brand recognition is important and intellectual property is actually a thing if you actually know how to run a business, all those reasons that people don't like Gibson, all of it's a bunch of crap, and they're doing actually very good. They have completely turned this business around, and I think it's very, very cool. Why would he be out? JC Curley I've done some research on him in the past. I don't know all of the details, but I know that he has actually had a role at various companies where he just kind of goes around and like goes into a company that's been having trouble, turns them around, and then he leaves and he goes to the next one. It's possible that he has a personal desire to do so. I've been in a situation in my business career where I really enjoyed starting the business, but once the business was started, I wanted to just sell it and start another one because I enjoy starting a business and making it go. That was my thing. Now I have something with my name on it and I'm proud of it and we're going to keep it. But so it's possible that he has like an internal drive as a human being to just do this thing where he goes in and turns things around. Now, it's also possible that they could have made this a quote unquote stipulation. I don't know this to be true, but I've seen it before where they made it a stipulation. My guess would be, this is my guess. Again, these are all guesses. My guess would be is that JC Curley was not cheap to retain in the beginning. My guess was that he was not cheap, that he was a very expensive fellow, that his services didn't come cheap. And I could imagine a scenario. Let me just say it this way. I could imagine a scenario where in the original agreement with him, they said, we're going to bring you on for X amount of years. We are going to set these particular goals for the company. If we reach these goals within this particular time, or we do it at a shorter time, or maybe we'll give you a bonus and a severance package if we do. That way you help us turn this company around and then you can go on and do your next thing. It's possible that there was some sort of agreement like that. It's possible that it was a personal decision on his case. But there's a lot of reasons why this could be a thing that happened. I already saw somebody say they're doing so great that they axed their CEO. It's not an axing of a CEO. Companies move on in business development stages for various reasons. And I can totally see this being a thing. You also have to remember too, that even some of the dumb decisions that they've made, like the Rally invest in a guitar thing, which was pretty stupid. You also have to remember that they were owned by a bank, or are owned sort of basically by a fund, or a majority of it, or a percentage of it. So therefore this board of directors has a lot of say as well. However, on the whole, the company's doing fantastic. They are growing. Their production is growing. Their quality has come up by leaps and bounds. And they're making great stuff. So why not? Why not make a change, refine, and move forward? I think it's really neat. I really think it's neat. Was his contract up? I don't know. I don't know any details about it. But I just know that there's going to be a bunch of people that jump on in the comments of every YouTube video or every article about this. I told you so. This is going in the wrong direction. Blah, 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 blah. All kinds of negative reasons. But there are some actual, I wish the slash signatures are now over. I'm not. I just bought one. It's fantastic. Too many chefs making the soup? No, I think that there are... roles. They had all those roles in place. And again, there's no reason. There could be, and I bet there isn't. I am leaning towards, if we could speak to him right now, I bet there would be no negative reason that he left. I bet everybody knew this was going to happen except you and me. I bet this was already in the plan. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. And I think everybody should go and check out the Gibson Garage, and everybody should hit the like button. They keep selling the same old thing. Time for some new stuff. Get in the comments and let me know what you think that is. And let me know what you think new stuff is. And then let me know how you think you could sell 300 of them a day. Okay? Just because you and 5 of your friends think that guitars should be made out of popsicle sticks or they should be in the shape of a starfish doesn't mean that you could sell 300 of them a day. Because that's what it would take. That's what it would take. 300 to 500 guitars a day, every day of a model to sell. So, you know, I like how negative people are. It's so funny. Y'all need to calm down. Let's see if there's any actual meaningful comments in here. I don't see any. I don't think music experience, somebody said that they don't think that JC had any music experience and the new CEO does. First of all, I don't think that's true. Second of all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A common mistake that people make, and I'm talking about you, is they think that somebody needs to know how to play guitar. Somebody needs to understand guitar people. They need to know how to run a business. They need to know how to make money. If you don't know how to make money and you're just an artist, you will fail. 100%. Unless you die. So artists that don't know how to run a business die, and then they're famous after they're dead, but it doesn't do you any good. As an artist or an art person in any, let's say you make jewelry, whatever, you need to know how to run a business to be successful. The end of story. And so they have artist people for that. They have people that can keep guitars looking cool and doing stuff, but they need somebody at the top of it to know how to run a business. That is really, really important. Nice cap. Thanks. Yes. Yeah. I feel very, so let me say something I've been thinking about lately. I really think that besides materials, so let's talk about shapes of guitars, right? There's like 6 shapes of guitars. What do you got? Strat, Tele, SG, Les Paul, 335, Explorer, and a V. Okay, those are the main ones, right? And Explorer and Vs are kind of nichey. It is my opinion. It's just an opinion, but it is my opinion that I think, and PRS shapes. So somebody just mentioned PRS. I would think that those shapes are going to pretty much stay. Where the innovation is going to happen is in materials as wood availability changes. But I think the most innovation and technology isn't actually going to come in the guitar itself. I think it's going to be in the peripherals, amplifiers, digital technologies, pedals, things like that. Let's see. Norman says, do you mean like PRS, who sells well over 300 guitars a day? They actually sell approximately, they make about 300 guitars a month at PRS. But they also, their imports, they are thousands a month. So yeah. Let's see. We got a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Very much from Unhung Hero. Trogley's going to have to choose between covering the 84V Explorer re-release or the JC Exit tonight. Oh, that's funny. I was going to talk about something else, and we're going to continue to talk. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but I was going to talk about something completely different today. But actually, I saw this earlier, and we were gone. Leslie and I were doing some things. We actually took a class together today, which was really fun. Will they retain Mark Agnesi? I hope they do. I'm sure that they're going to fiddle around some stuff. Some people are going to sit in some different seats and they're going to rearrange some stuff. I mean, that always kind of happens. And it's good. It's all about financial goals for the company. I don't know if you guys realize this as guitar players, but Gibson doesn't make guitars to make you feel good. They make guitars to make money. If I didn't make money making pickups, I wouldn't make them. I have to figure out how to make a living. So if that didn't work, I would do something else. I mean, it just is what it is. This is business. The thing is, you got to make a good product that everybody likes. And of course, it's an iconic brand since the early 1900s. So, I mean, When is the last time Gibson approached an artist to make a totally new guitar, not just endorsing guitars they've made for decades? Well, this is a great question. Which artist do you think that should be? And which artist would you approach right now to make a Gibson style guitar that would actually be something that they would play that isn't a guitar that already exists? Who would that be? Get in the comments right now. See, we ask these questions to try to challenge the norm, but the bottom line is there's a guy they probably pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to sit in a desk and ask these questions, but actually do the research and not just comment in a YouTube video. That's the thing. All the questions. One time, I'll give you an example. One time I was talking to my buddy. His name's Kevin. He is Seymour Duncan's right-hand man. His name is Kevin Beller. He's the head of like R&D and design for Seymour Duncan. I've known him for, I don't know, probably 20 years. And we were talking about pickup designs and stuff that I'd tried. And, I was like, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And he goes, here's the thing you got to realize. He says, by now in history, all of those things have been tried. And for one reason or another, marketability, usually, profitability, application issues, like as far as like how many guitars it would fit in, and overall market interest, not to mention the technical and how the thing sounds, number one, number two, and then also the manufacturing costs and all those things. For one of those many reasons, that product has not come to fruition, even though it's probably already been tried. So for as many people that sit in the comments on YouTube videos and think they know everything, and I know I do it too. Like, you read and you're like, well, why don't they do this? They should just do that instead. Duh. Because I've said it many times. I'm like, I am so tired of a friggin' Telecaster with a different pickguard on it. Like, can't we come up with something new? Yes, we can. And yes, it's been tried. And yes, it's been market researched. And yes, it's been done. And the bottom line is, it's too expensive to make. It's too hard to make. Nobody likes it, or nobody wants it. The overall marketability just doesn't make sense. For many myriad of reasons, that product doesn't come to fruition. I could tell you, I have a notebook full of stuff that I've tried that you've never seen and never heard about because it just doesn't make sense and it's too expensive to make. It's just not a profitable thing. It just doesn't come to market. So we have all these great ideas in comment sections. We all do it. Bottom line is, it's already been done. It's an interesting thing to think about. Les Paul's necks don't break if you don't drop them. I don't know if you're not aware of that or not, but let's see. We got another super chat from Van Shank Guitars, and he says, "I highly doubt anything will change. The company has turned around for the better, so they won't rock the boat too much. I 100% agree with you, Ivan." And I don't know if for those of you, I know we got a lot of new names in here. For those of you that are not familiar, I'm going to tell it to you straight. And a lot of times, some of the stuff that we as guitar players hang on to is just dumb ideas and tradition and stereotypical things that I'm not afraid to call out and just be like, we're just human beings, man. And we say dumb stuff and we think dumb stuff. So if you feel offended by me calling out something that I know you think or feel or have felt in the past, or you know somebody who has, don't be offended. Just be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's how guitar players are. That's how we are. Right? Like, that's the thing. I just think it's really important to think about. I mean, okay, let me show you something. I'll show you something right now. Friday, we're going to have a video about the Seymour Duncan, that thing, Hyper Switch. I can't even count the amount of comments. I can't even count the amount of comments in my YouTube channel questions or comment sections already who tell me this thing is a stupid idea. It's a freaking switch. So, is what it is. Let's see. People want a Gibson, a Fender, or a PRS for what they make already. They can fiddle with pickups, hardware, and other things. That's what I think. I think, here's the thing. Let's think about this for a second. Let's take a different business into our conversation. I know business outside of guitar stuff, and let's take anything. Let's take cars. Let's take motorcycles first. So, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, KTM. Well, let's leave KTM out of it. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki. Okay, whatever. The main brands, right? Let's just take dirt bikes specifically, okay? Those are like your Fender Gibson, right? Everybody knows who they are. Even people that don't ride dirt bikes know who they are. KTM's kind of like the PRS of dirt bikes. They're way nicer, right? They are way less volume, but still you can get them. They're easy to get, right? And they're for the people that are like, I'm tired of the norm. I'm tired of the Telecaster. I'm tired of the Stratocaster, and I want something just a little different. But that market share automatically is a small percentage of the Telecaster, Stratocaster guy, right? The KTM is like the PRS of that. Then it goes another level deeper. Then it goes into Sherco, and it goes into, I don't know, all these Husaberg and, all these other like Husqvarna, all these other small niche brands for the people that are like, you know what? I truly want something different that none of my friends have. But automatically that becomes a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller market share. And those products typically cost more because they're a smaller volume. They typically are more finicky. They typically need a higher level of enthusiast for that product to be understood, because they might be engineered a little bit differently. All of those things. It's the same thing like in the knife world, okay? Victorinox is the number one knife maker in the world. They make the most. Swiss Army knives literally are everywhere, okay? And then you've got what? You've got Buck and you've got Kershaw, and then it gets a little smaller with like Benchmade, and maybe Spyderco's bigger than Benchmade. And then it gets all the way down to like this guy. I just got this today. This is a Montana Knife Company, little tiny guy in Montana, and these are barely ever in stock, and it's very super nichey. So here's what happens. The level of enthusiast, the popularity of the product, the availability of the product, and the saleability of the product is it's opposite of what the level of the enthusiasm for the product is. So Fenders and Gibsons and stuff are way easy to get. You can get them anywhere. Everybody has them. Now there are niche products there, but the level of enthusiasm can be quite low. You can be a beginner guitar player, somebody who plays once in a while, right? As you go into alternative materials, Aristides guitars, Rain Song guitars, McPherson guitars, all these various other things that are actually technology, that are actually happening out there, that are not made up. This stuff is actually happening. People are like, I want something different that's not just a Fender or a Gibson. Correct. But you're never going to get that from Fender or Gibson. Those are the commodity brands that they take a very low level of enthusiast to get, and then you can get them anywhere. The brands that are specifically for enthusiasts, McPherson, Aristides, Rain Song with carbon fiber stuff and really cool technology and all this wacky, super boutique-y stuff, but you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. So your level of enthusiast raises with the availability of the product going down, but the uniqueness of the product going up and the innovation of the product going up. It's always been like that for everything. Slowly over years and years and years, those things will trickle down to more available products, but it doesn't happen very quickly. And it doesn't happen quickly, especially in guitars. So all of the things that you want as guitar players, I just don't want another, Strat or a Tele, because I say exactly the same thing. Those things are out there if you are the level of enthusiast for it. Now, the people that are unreasonable are the people that are like, I want a $500 guitar with stainless steel frets made in the United States that has all the stuff. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You have to be able to invest in your hobby if you want the enthusiast level stuff, because it's going to be enthusiast level prices. End of story. That's just how it is. It's, really, really pretty easy to think about. Spyderco and Benchmade, I don't think they're on the same level for production, though. I think Spyderco has a higher level of production. In fact, I know they do. And I know what you're saying about KTM and gas and all that stuff. I'm using it as an illustrative point. The thing is that KTM, gas, Husqvarna, Husaberg, KTM is still higher volume. It's still a trickle down thing. And those are still enthusiast only motorcycles most of the time. It's a swapping scale of stuff. And I think most reasonable people know that about guitar stuff. I know for sure that I'm never going to get an acoustic guitar from Gibson with a carbon fiber top. I know it's not going to happen. I know that I'm never going to get some wacky shape guitar from Fender. I just know it. That's not what they do. It's not what they do. Gibson's not using original mahogany anymore, just alternatives rebranded as African mahogany. That is actually not correct. Their mahogany currently comes from South America, and they're in the process of, I believe it's going to start shifting to Africa because of the availability in South America. But at the moment, up until very recently anyway, the conversations that I've had with the people who actually go get the wood in South America is Gibson comes from South America. They're mahogany. PRS mahogany comes from Africa. Yeah, so there you go. And if you want to challenge me on that, you're welcome to, but my buddy buys all the wood for them. So, and he might even be watching right now and chime in the comments or text me and be like, oh, here's the next update on that, because he's done that during live streams before. So yeah. Oh, this is a great point, Richard. The Strat is a wacky shape. It's just become ingrained in guitar culture. That is an excellent point to bring out, because the Telecaster was like an acoustic guitar shape with a cutaway for higher access. And then the Strat was like right? Like super innovative. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And it's not Honduran. It actually comes from Colombia, by the way. Ever since Gibson stopped using cloth wire, their quality went out the door. They didn't really ever use cloth wire. They used braided wire. And once they still do. In fact, I've got a brand new Gibson with all braided wire in it. It doesn't have any plastic wire in it anywhere, which plastic wire doesn't do anything. I don't know if you guys know that, but vinyl covered wire doesn't hurt quality of a pickup at all or anything. It's fine. Sky, if you need a Strat bridge pickup that actually sounds good, DylanTalksTone.com. I've got you. Yep, pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Colombian. I have a note around here somewhere. Let's see. We have a whole one of these live streams about 3 or 4 months old, and it's called, I think the thumbnail says something like, where does your wood and your guitar come from, or something, and we break it all down, even the import stuff, and explain all of that pretty thoroughly. And about 30 minutes before that live stream, I actually had about an hour phone call with my friend who does all that stuff. And he was telling me, I mean, some of the stuff I can't tell you. Like there's some brands, he told me stuff I can't even tell you. But he's like, I just got off the phone with Gibson and we were doing blah, 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 blah. Like, I mean, I've got it. If you, as things change, I will try to update you where the stuff comes from, because I try to keep up on that, because it does change from time to time, because it's all about availability. Because here's another bomb to drop on anybody who thinks differently, but the bottom line is guitars are made out of what they're made out of based on availability and price. Okay, so and there are certain quality differences, right? Obviously you don't want a junky piece of mahogany, or you don't want a really heavy piece of mahogany, or you don't want whatever. But the bottom line is Gibson will start making Les Pauls out of something different when the world is out of mahogany. But I know that there's a long time from happening, because something that just came up in Fiji, I think, with another plantation. There's some other stuff happening in the Far East. So you're going to see mahogany for quite a while. But all of these things are really based on availability. So if they have a problem dealing with a particular country, and also it's the legal for example, all of your, I'm not going to say all of your, but there's a particular brand that we don't talk about here on the channel very much. It rhymes with Harley Benton. They do goofy things with where their wood comes from. So you might not actually know where that wood comes from. So, it's only a matter of time until somebody says, hey, where does that wood come from? And they have a problem. So, Gibson and Fender are very, very, conscientious about the legal, flow of where they're like the chain of custody, basically from where the tree comes out of the ground until when it becomes a guitar, that it's legal and ethical and all those things. So there's a bunch of different things that go into that, but the bottom line is it's all those decisions. There isn't some Gibson engineer tap testing trees, choosing what they're going to make your Les Paul out of, just so you know. Yeah. Chances are your hero plays a certain guitar model because they learned on something like that one. And since that was before they even knew the technical stuff, it's all just blind luck. You know, that's really true. I mean, and here's the other thing. Matt from Texas Toast Guitar says this all the time. He's like, and don't get me wrong, guitar players are all getting old. Okay. We're all getting old. So let's just say we know what the demographics on this channel are, and you ain't 18 years old. So that being said, all the music that you love, wasn't made with stainless steel frets, wasn't made with some wacky, it was made on a Gibson with maybe a broken headstock, maybe not, with a Gibson or a Fender or a whatever, with random parts, who knows what. All those guitars made the music that you love. It didn't have stainless steel frets. It didn't have a particular neck radius that you think you can't play. It didn't have any of that stuff. It was just a guitar. Whoever had the guitar was like, I just have this guitar, man. Like, you know, I don't know. My dad gave it to me, and then I learned a thing, and there you go. Like, yeah. Being a lefty, we often play whatever we can get. Dude, I know the feeling. There are things in my life, because I'm left-handed. I actually play guitar right-handed, but I am very conscious of the left-handed versus right-handed thing, and I'm conscious of left-handed versus right-handed availability, because, man, I tell you what, there are things in life that are even like, you know, these knife sheaths and stuff. Every time I buy a new knife, I got to like flip it around and put it on the other side. And yeah, does that come left-handed or right-handed, or can I use it right-handed still, even though it's left-handed? Like, yeah, that's a constant thing. Yep. And you know, Joe Coach, you bring up a good point too. You have stuff all across all brands. I think this is something that could be said. I think this is something that guitar players in general should. I'm not telling you what to do, but the best guitar players I know have one of everything. And the best guitar players I know are not like, well, I can't play this fret size. I can't play this radius. I can't play this whatever. They just learn. And they play differently. I have a bunch of different, I'm not a good guitar player, obviously, but I have a bunch of different guitars with a bunch of different fretboard radiuses, a bunch of different fret sizes, a bunch of different fret widths. And now if you have tiny hands, I get the actual physical limitations of the human body, so I understand that. But most people complain about stuff that doesn't actually matter when you just sit down and you go, oh, well, I can't play that on this, but I can play this other thing. And now it's making me go down this whole entire other road and being inspired to play this other kind of music because I can't play the thing that I'm used to playing on this particular guitar. Boom, next thing you know, you're expanding your horizons. Why don't more guitar players do that instead of spend 90 million hours a year in the comments being like, well, I wish it came with blah, blah, blah frets. You know what I mean? The guitar doesn't matter as much as people want to think. It's definitely true. It is definitely true. I really enjoy, no lie, I really enjoy trying stuff that I haven't tried before. Building materials, guitar shapes, whatever. I think Leslie and I were talking about this the other day in regards to something else, but I was just telling her, I just want to have as many different as possible. We were talking about another hobby, but I was like, I want to have as many different things as possible. And I want to be able to use them all equally. I want to have the skills. I want to understand how to use them all equally. I don't want to just be I am only this guy. I don't want to be that. I want to be flexible. I want to, when confronted with a situation, I want to be able to handle it. I want to know that I can adapt. And I think it's important. I also want to enjoy the hobby enough that, going back to guitar stuff, that I will not enjoy it if the situation is not 100% perfect. Because let's face it, you could do whatever you want in your office, in your bedroom, and you could make yourself sound like $1 million. But the minute you go out to an open mic night, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to sound like crap, because you're not going to have a sound guy, because the sound that you invented in your head is not going to sound the same in some echoey, stupid room with some terrible power and a bunch of people talking, and your amp is not loud enough, and you didn't put enough mid-range in it because it sounds different in your bedroom. So now the guy can't even hear your solo. And you're going to have to be able to adapt in that situation. And even if you don't sound perfect and your tone kind of sucks the first couple times till you figure that out, don't let that rob you of the joy of actually doing the thing. I think people focus too much on sounding good and not enough on actually having the fun that you were meant to have when you got there. There's a lot of times where, I've been at open mic nights and stuff before where I go up and I sit down. Most of the time I play acoustic when I go to open mic nights, but I'll go up and I'll sit down and I think I'm going to be playing, with somebody else, and we sit down and we start playing. And then I realize that person's like way better than me. And I'm just like, which they are most of the time. And I'm just like, just kind of strumming along. And I'm like, okay, now it's not about me anymore. Now I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this. And maybe I'm just going to play on the 1 and the 4 and just accent their chord progression because I'm just having fun, man. Like, it's not my purpose to be here right now to steal this show and to have great tone. And now the $2,000 guitar that I have does not matter at all because I'm only playing 3 chords on the 1 and the 4 as I'm just enamored by this other guitar player. But the whole point is I'm having fun. I'm not sitting there, bro, you can't hear my guitar right. It doesn't sound perfect. Like, don't get stuck in the whole tone thing when it robs your joy from the thing that this is actually supposed to be, and that is fun. It's called playing guitar. So I stole that from John Mayer. And that's the thing. I think all of these things are really important when it really comes down to it. I just like playing guitar. I think it's fun. I'm done with open mic nights. My bag was stolen a month ago. Dang. I need to sound perfect when I play my generic soulless repetitive blues. Hey now, some people only play a couple of pentatonic scales in every video. Just saying, People say that about me all the time. Somebody commented last week, they're like, I don't know how I can take a review seriously if you don't even know how to play. I'm like, okay, then don't. Don't take me seriously. I'm joking. What's funny about that is, if you came to one of my gigs, you would know that I don't play any of that stuff. I actually don't play pentatonic blues in any of those scales or in any of those keys at my gigs. I don't play that style of music at all. I don't do any of that stuff. The reason I do it for YouTube is because it is all the same all the time. I did not get this idea from myself. Tony Policastro from the Acoustic Letter YouTube channel plays the same riffs in every video so that you can hear, if you wanted to watch a bunch of his videos back to back, you'd be able to hear the difference between stuff. So I actually that's one of the reasons why I do that. It makes sense to me. I don't believe in playing a guitar. I believe in being a musician. Well, I mean, you're better than me then. That's a whole different thing. Because you could go so far down that road that you belittle others that view it as more of a hobby than you, and I don't want to do that. You may not do that, and I'm not saying that you are. I'm not implying that you are, but I don't want to go down the road of, that guy's not really a musician. Machine Gun Kelly's not really a musician. This rapper's not really a musician. That's a bunch of BS. It's a bunch of BS. They're all artists in their own way, doing their own thing. And I think everybody that creates a thing that somebody else enjoys is an artist. Whether you like that artist or not, that does not belittle or invalidate their art. And guitar players are terrible about that. And that probably is the main thing that pisses me off. And I don't like that. And so I don't want to be that person. Yeah, standardizing riffs for videos I think it's important. Those are my test riffs. I do some other things too when I'm testing pickups and stuff. And the thing too you have to understand is I'm listening for a very, very specific things. I think in that last video, I tried to demonstrate it not in the last video, but a couple weeks ago, where like this kind of pickup versus this kind of pickup, even though that's not actually what the video was about, but that's the way everyone took it. Where it was like, I'm like, sometimes I'm just like plinking on one string, going all the way up and down. I'm like listening for a thing. Is it doing this thing? No, it's not doing this thing. Or I'm playing two notes together. Oh, it's doing a thing I don't like. There's this weird harmonic, I'm testing 90% of the time when I'm playing. So honestly, when I'm playing guitar for fun, 90% of the time, it's acoustic. I actually have a new acoustic guitar coming. Mumble rap is not an art, though. Well, you're wrong, but that's okay. If it's not fun, then why bother? That's exactly right. Critics say they don't like all these musicians, and then them themselves don't have their own music out, and they suck themselves. Dude, that's what I always say. I'm like, then send me a link to your YouTube channel and your Bandcamp and let me go listen. Or show me on iTunes where you have music out. I have a body of work that speaks for itself. Do you? And that's not a thing to brag, but that's a thing to say, like, if you're going to call me out on something from your mom's basement, you better be ready. Who am I to tell someone something they like isn't good? That's what I think too. It's a religion to me. It's not a plaything. Yeah, see, that's where I'm out. Because guitar stuff, I get it, but I understand the people that do, but I'm not like that. And I do not promote that. I'm just not I'm not somebody, because then what that turns into is I'm an artist and you're not. And that makes me better than you as a human being. And I just don't, I can't subscribe to that. That's just not something. what I do with that stuff, even if it's something that I don't necessarily like, if it's a art form that I'm not into, I want to understand the artist. So a lot of times we will, like, for example, one of the things we'll do is, like Apple Music, like we'll just let it run, in the car, and I'll be like, what is this? And I'll be driving and she'll be, this is so-and-so artist, whatever, this record came out in this time. And I'm like, this is weird. And she'll be like, oh, you know who this is? This is the guitar player from this one band, and it's working with this other person. And then she'll start Googling names. She'll find out about stuff. And, oh, this person wrote this song, and we'll go all down this rabbit hole of this music that we didn't like or didn't understand. And go, oh, okay, so now we're starting to understand the creative impetus behind the artists that made this music. And then you start going down this other whole rabbit hole of like, oh, well, what else did they do? If I didn't like this, now I understand the art journey that they were on when they did it. So now I'm going to go figure out what else they did. And 90% of the time, you'll find some, I will anyway, because I don't dislike stuff. I usually I'm like, that's weird. Let me find out more. Things that I don't like make me curious. They don't make me shut it off, if that makes sense. Things that I'm tired of, I will shut off. Led Zeppelin, Allman Brothers. But things that I don't like, I will typically investigate and figure out why. That's a me thing, We got a super chat from Doug. If you're devoting your life to being a total musician, you certainly wouldn't spend your time building equipment for other people. You'd be making your living playing your instrument. And of course, you would be better. Dude, see, that's true. And Doug, because you've heard me say it in person and on YouTube, that I'm better at making you sound good than I am at making me sound good. Yeah, my brain goes to how to make the thing work properly. So you're right. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm a very exploratory person. I think it's very cool to explore things. David Cordenblatt, I know you didn't. I'm telling you that I don't go down that road because that's the thought process that I feel that a lot of people have. And I said that earlier, that I'm sure you're not like that, because I know you've been around for quite a while. So yeah, I wasn't implying that you were like that. I'm just saying it happens with a lot of people, and I don't personally subscribe to that, and I don't like it. I'm sure me and you would have a beer and chat about guitar stuff and totally hit it off. I 100% believe that. And that's the thing too. I also assume that, except for the absolute moron in the comments, every once in a while, and even those people, that if there was a beer and some chips and some salsa and we were hanging out, that we would talk guitar stuff. And if there was a guitar hanging out there, whether it was $100 or if it was $10,000, somebody would pick it up and we would chat about guitar stuff and talk about music and that kind of stuff and find a common ground. And I'm 100% sure that it would happen with just about every person who has ever watched my YouTube channel, whether I liked what they said in the comments or not. I 100% believe that, because I have faith in people. Once you understand who they are and how they got there. I think the problem is that this is getting way off in left field and super philosophical, but I think what happens is people will take a snapshot of another human being in a setting that does not 100% reflect who they are, i.e. the YouTube comment section, and then create a complete picture of who they think that person is. And that is not right. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. And so I think there's a whole journey that makes a person a certain way. There's a whole journey that makes people like what they like and do not like any. There's a reason why I'm tired of Led Zeppelin. I didn't say I didn't like them. I'm tired of them. I've just heard them a million times. Just give me something new. People get pissed when they say that. they create a mental picture of a person who doesn't like the thing they like. Well, if we sat down and we had a beer and we chatted about it, I could tell you all kind of stories about the reason I am tired of the Allman Brothers and I am tired of Led Zeppelin. And there are very specific reasons for it. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't enjoy seeing a cover of it in the bar band if they're really good, and I would love to see either of those bands live if they were still touring. That would be awesome. But what I'm saying is, it's not worth the snapshot to make a negative opinion of somebody. So I try not to do that to anybody in the comments either, ever. On thousands of video, well, we have 1,500 videos or something. I try not to do that, and I would hope that people wouldn't do that to each other, but they do. So that's just my kind of mental thought process of all of that stuff. Yep. This is really fun. This has been a really fun conversation because I think what I enjoy about these Tuesdays is the fact that I don't mind saying stuff that challenges how people think. And I don't mind you saying something that challenges how I think, and we can talk this out. I think this is really fun to do. And I know that a bunch of us disagree on stuff, but I also know in the end, if there was a beer or sweet tea, if you don't drink, or whatever, water or 7-Up or Coke or, okay, not Pepsi, but everything else, and some chips and salsa, I think we would just chat about all this stuff, and everybody would be sitting around a table and we'd be laughing and having a good time, and it wouldn't matter what gear we played, or it wouldn't matter any of that stuff. And I think that's really, really, really important. So I will leave you with that. I have to go do a bunch of stuff. We are running later tonight. This has been really, really fun. Thanks for hanging out on Just Gonna Say It podcast. I appreciate all of you. I wanted to say earlier, this was part of the conversation. We hit 85,000 subscribers last week. Please do me a favor, especially if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, because when you do that, it shows, and the like button, it shows YouTube, and they share it with more people, and the channel grows, and that's what helps us to make this content, because it's not cheap to make, it's time consuming, and we have to continue to try to make. I mean, we're making so many pickups right now, I can't even tell. Somebody's like, the other day, they're like, you said with this many pickups, you would make 45 a day. That seems impossible with all the videos. Well, it is impossible, but that's what we're doing right now. We're crazy busy. I'll sleep when I'm dead. So thanks for hanging out, and we will see you on the next one.